Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone for the Sunday Srimad Bhagavatam class at ISKCON Portland. Um, this is Damodar Lila Dasi. I'll be speaking on the verse 1.13.58 today. But before doing that, I would like to chant Mangalacharan prayers so that I can get the mercy of previous acharyas and of all the Vaishnavas here. So yeah, if you can chant those as well on mute if you want to. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरून् श्रीकृतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. I would also like to chant the invocation prayers for Srimad Bhagavatam. I will be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. Okay, we'll now chant the verse for today. I'll chant it 3 times. दह्यमाने अग्निभिर्देहे पत्युपत्नी सहोटजे बहिः स्थिता पतिं साध्वी तमग्निमनुवेक्ष्यति दह्यमाने अग्निभिर्देहे पत्युपत्नी सहोटजे बहिः स्थिता पतिं साध्वी तमग्निम् अनुवेक्ष्यति दह्यमाने अग्निभिर्देहे पत्युपत्नी सहोटजे बहिः स्थिता पतिं साध्वी तमग्निम् अनुवेक्ष्यति. Would any other devotees like to chant the prayer?
I can try, Mataji.
Okay.
दह्यमानेऽग्निभिर्देहे पत्युः पत्नी सहोटजे बहिः स्थिता पतिं साध्वी तम् अग्निम् अनुवेक्ष्यति. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Anybody else?
दह्यमाने अग्निभिर्देहे पत्युः पत्नी सहोटजे Bahistita patim sadvi tam agnim anupakshati. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you.
यमाने अग्निभिर्देः पत्युपत्नी सहोदजे बहिः स्थिता पतिं साध्वी तम् अग्निम् अनुवेक्षति. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
दह्यमानेऽग्निभिर्देहे पत्युः पत्नी सहोतजे बहिः स्थिता पतिं साध्वी तम् अग्निम् अनुवेक्ष्यति. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
दह्यमाने अग्निभिर्देहे पत्युः पत्नी सहोदजे बहिः स्थिता पतिं साध्वी तम् अग्निमनुवीक्ष्यति. Hare Krishna.
Yonika. Hare Krishna. Okay. We'll move to the synonyms section. So, Dahyamane, while it is burning. Agni bihi, by the fire. Dehe, the body. Patyuh, of the husband. Patni, the wife. Saha utaje, along with the thatched cottage. Bahi, outside. Sthita, situated. Patim, unto the husband. Sadhvi, the chaste lady. Tam, that. Agnim, fire. Anuvekshyati, looking with great attention, will enter the fire. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. While outside observing her husband, who will burn in the fire of mystic power, along with his thatched cottage, his chaste wife will enter the fire with rapt attention. Purport. Gandhari was an ideal chaste lady, a life companion of her husband, and therefore, when she saw her husband burning in the fire of mystic yoga, along with his cottage of leaves, she despaired. She left home after losing her 100 sons, and in the forest she saw that her most beloved husband was also burning. Now she actually felt alone, and therefore she entered the fire of her husband and followed her husband to death. This entering of a chaste lady into the fire of her dead husband is called the sati rite, and the action is considered to be most perfect for a woman. In a later age, this sati rite became an obnoxious criminal affair because the ceremony was forced upon even an unwilling woman. In this fallen age, it is not possible for any lady to follow the sati rite as chastely as it was done by Gandhari and others in past ages. A chaste wife like Gandhari would feel the separation of her husband to be more burning than actual fire. Such a lady can observe the sati rite voluntarily, and there is no criminal force by anyone. When the rite became a formality only and force was applied upon a lady to follow the principle, actually it became criminal, and therefore the ceremony was to be stopped by state law. This prophecy of Narad Muni to Maharaj Yudhishthir forbade him to go to his widowed aunt. So, so this section, we are in the later, almost the last part of chapter 13. And in this section, Narad Muni is talking to Yudhishthir Maharaj, and he's telling him what's gonna happen in next few days. So Yudhishthir Maharaj, when he came to know that his uncle Dhritarashtra and Gandhari are not there in the palace, and he was very upset and he was feeling very distressed. But then, through the potency of Narad Muni, he came to know what had happened, that they had left the palace voluntarily and gone to the forest to finally achieve self-realization. And Yudhishthir Maharaj, who was very compassionate person, he thought he could at least do the final rites for his uncle when he heard that from Narad Muni that his uncle uh, uh, is gonna leave his body in 5 days. But Narad Muni told him that uh, Dhritarashtra is going to burn along with the cottage, a thatched cottage. So basically, his body will be already burned to ashes. So Yudhishthira doesn't have to do that final rite as well. His body will already be burned. And then he thought, at least I can bring my aunt back to the palace, which is Gandhari. And Narad Muni is also removing that part away from, he's removing his worry about the aunt, because he's telling Yudhishthira that Gandhari is also going to enter the fire and become Sati, and she's going to also leave her body soon. So then there is no need for Yudhishthira Maharaj to go and bring his uncle and aunt. And yeah, so this particular verse is about focused on Gandhari. There are quite a few points here which we can talk about. So first one is um, Gandhari was a chaste lady, and that's why she wanted to enter into the fire along with her husband. And this pratha, this ritual was practiced in the ancient times, but it was practiced voluntarily. It was not forced upon Gandhari, and it was not really even a test that only if you are chaste, you have to become sati. It was not like that. Sati was always a voluntary thing, even for a chaste lady. If she had young kids to take care of, or for whatever, like for example, Kunti Maharani, she did become sati when her husband died, because she had to take care of 5 kids, and for whatever reason, it was something which was chosen by the woman, by the wife, whether she wants to enter the fire or not. And those who would do would be chaste ladies. Obviously, they loved their husband so much, and they were fully dedicated to their husbands. And as Srila Prabhupada writes in this purport, that for them separation from their husband was more burning than fire. I mean, that really shows how much the wife was dedicated to her husband. That um, the physical fire was uh, entering into a physical fire felt like a better option than living life in separation. So this sati uh, pratha, sati tradition, or sati ritual was practiced voluntarily by some women, but not everyone. For example, there are examples about the wives of Dashrath Maharaj, Kaushalya, Sumitra, and Kaikeyi. They did not become sati. So, and also we also see in Bhagavad Gita that Lord Krishna talks about all the women whose husbands died in the Kurukshetra war, in the Mahabharat war. He talks in a different context that what will happen to those women, and irreligion would um, they would be exploited and things like that. But that also tells us that all those women did not become sati. So sati was not something like a mandatory thing that every woman has to die when her husband dies, or has to enter the fire. So it was totally chosen voluntarily by women in the past. So I wanted to talk about this Vedic ritual. I mean, for example, for Gandhari, she was also not only chaste, but also she did not have any children left at that point, or young children whom she had to take care of. For whatever reason, she could have chosen whether to do it or not, and she chose this path. But later, in as Kali progressed, and in the in India, what was happening was many women were being forced to become sati. And then the government stepped in. There were a lot of uh, protests by what is called social activists, and they worked really hard to abolish the sati. Hello.
Hi, Shrimati, can you hear me, Mataji?
Yeah, I can hear you. Are
Yes,
you able
yes.
to hear me now?
Maybe
My
it
Not,
got cut off, Mataji,
yeah,
for some time. Now we
not
can
for
hear you.
like the
Thank you.
last minute. So,
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, we're in a hotel and connection is not very stable here. I'm sorry about that. I don't know where it got cut off. I was talking about, um,
Might
does
the
anybody?
government interfering, with
Okay,
the.
okay. The government and many social activists worked hard on abolishing this tradition of sati. And it was right. I mean, nobody should be forced. I mean, it's a very terrible experience to go through um, if you are not inspired to do that. For a woman to, physically get burned, it's a emotional, physical, all kinds of misery if you're forced to do that. And that brought a bad name to many Vedic rituals. Many people made a blanket statement that, Vedic rituals are totally uh, useless, or they don't make sense anymore. And people started losing faith in Vedic rituals. The reason was that the meaning was not shared with the future generations in that much detail. And when people started yeah, that's when you start losing faith in a ritual, when you don't know the reason behind it, or what's the inspiration behind that, and what's the spiritual connection of that ritual. So sati pratha was one of those. And also knowing that it was not, even in the past times, the women always had a choice whether to do it or not, and you cannot make a blanket statement about that. So similarly, so uh, this particular thing can also be expanded to other Vedic rituals. There are things that we do in our life as devotees, uh, related to, say, deity worship or chanting. And when we talk to somebody, or if, not outside the family, even to our own family members, if a particular person is doing some Vedic ritual, say like chanting, but and their kids ask the question as to why you are doing that. And if you are not able to explain to them the reason behind that, then the chances are very high that the child will not take it up in their life going forward. Or you yourself, like if you have been forced to, or you're just following the tradition blindly, generation after generation, there is a high chance that somebody who will come and question it in the family tradition, and he or she, if they don't find the answer, then that ritual will really, they will not understand the spiritual connection of that ritual, and the ritual will die away. So it also happens to the good things, like doing the proper deity worship, following certain cultural things, cleanliness included, celebrating festivals. And if you're seeing that your family members are following a certain sattvic lifestyle, all those things can get questioned, and if the answers are not found, the next generation can totally give up those traditions, and they will just call it as a ritual. uh, they won't understand the reason behind that, and they'll probably follow it half-heartedly for some time, and then there's high chance that it will go away. We can see that happening. So many people are giving up the sattvic lifestyle, even though just last generation or two generations before in their family, people were following sattvic lifestyles, but people have just left that because they do not know the reason why my grandfather, my grandmother were doing these things. Why were they so strict about uh, eating homemade food, offering it to Bhagwan, and then having it? Well, when they and it actually happened with me. I mean, I also, I personally felt that growing up. I was fortunate enough to take birth in a devotee family, but I was not able to get the answers for many questions about the things at which my mother was doing, about offering bhoga, arti, why worshipping Radha Krishna exclusively, and things like that. And when I did not get the answers, I felt that she's just doing it like a ritual. I could not find any spiritual reason, connection to that, and my faith dwindled away. And for quite a few years of my young adult age, I stopped following those things, just calling them rituals and traditions which have no meaning. But then, when by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, by the mercy of devotees, I got connected to ISKCON and I read the Bhagavad Gita and other related scriptures. When I understood the reason behind that, I was able to take up the same ritual wholeheartedly, and just it became part of my life and totally ingrained in my life. So those rituals, once I found the spiritual connection, they did not just remain mere rituals for me. So anyways, that was about the ritual part of things. So Sati Pratha was one of such ritual, and when it was being forced on women few hundred years ago, it was a misapplication of the ritual. I am also reminded of one example which I have heard in some classes, that maybe some of you know about cat in a basket. So there was one Brahmin who had a cat. There was a cat who would usually visit whenever he was doing his Vedic rituals, and he didn't want the cat to disturb while he was doing worship, so he would bring a basket and cover the cat, and then he would do his puja and all his bhakti activities, and his little son would watch that. Okay, so that whenever his father is doing the worship, he brings a basket and covers the cat for that time. Now the son did not know the reason as to why my father is doing that, and that became a tradition. So it's a funny story. I don't know how true it is, but the point is that then when the son became older, had and he himself had children, he would also follow that I cannot do the worship until there is a cat and I cover the cat by a basket. So the when he was questioned, he did not know the answer. So basically, we know that there is no connection between cat being covered by a basket when you're doing your worship. But if you don't know the reason, things like that can become part of the important Vedic things that you're doing, and it can become a laughing matter later, and that can bring your faith down from the important process as well. Like you would think, oh, why would you cover a cat with a basket? That part is bogus. Even all this worship that he's doing is also bogus. So it could have a potential reason why people can lose faith if they don't understand and blindly just following some customs. So that is what I was reminded of with that. Okay, and then there was another, there are some other Vedic rituals. One ritual which I want to talk about, which I thought when I was reading about Sati, which also has become has got a bad name in India. It's about dowry. So when people get married, the daughter or the girl, when she gets married, she brings some gifts for the bridegroom's family. Now, this was done totally out of your sweet will. When the father would do Kanyadan, he would, from his whole, due to happiness in his heart, he would give whatever he wanted to the daughter. It was not forced upon the father of the bride. But later, it got degraded, and now people started demanding that the marriage can only happen if you give me so many lakh of rupees or whatever, these gifts. So the Vedic rituals, which were established with very good intentions, dowry was a custom. We see about when Mother Sita got married, so many gifts came, and even in Bhagavatam we see examples when dowry is sent as part of marriage, and it is always nothing was demanded, but the things can start getting ugly, and when people don't know the reason behind those, and obviously with the Kali Yuga mindset, people turn around the rituals for their convenience and do that. But we should not just put a blanket statement that all Vedic rituals are useless, they don't mean anything, including sati. If you understand, like for Gandhari's attitude, since she was feeling, she was left alone. In the purport also, Srila Prabhupada says that she had lost 100 sons. All her sons were gone. And now her husband is also leaving her, and she was most attached to him. Life had no meaning for her, and living alone uh, would have been a greater fire for her than a physical fire. So she entered into that. She also, we also know from some other references that she wanted to follow this. She wanted to go back to the spiritual world. Um, this was not. This was like a chance for her to cut all her this material bondage and go back to the spiritual world. So it was not something that she was just burning her body because that she didn't want to live alone, but she was also looking forward to now. She was self-realized and wanted to go back to spiritual world. So getting rid of this body was a step into that, and she was looking forward to it. Other just I think a week or 10 days ago, I was attending a class on the disappearance of Raghunath Das Goswami. And in that, Prabhuji mentioned that Raghunath Das Goswami was very attached to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, obviously. And then when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this world, Raghunath Das Goswami was feeling so sad that he wanted to commit suicide. He wanted to jump off the Govardhan hill and give up his life. And then Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami had to really work and to make him come out of that mood and stay in Vrindavan with them. So, anyways, the point there was that the reason Raghunath Das Goswami wanted to commit suicide. Suicide is not something which we recommend for anyone to do, but in this particular situation, the fire, he was. It is unimaginable for us to know how hard it must be for Raghunath Das Goswami to live without Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We are not talking about a simple relationship which we have experienced in our lives. We have our family members and relatives and friends whom we are close to, but it's not at all comparable to the closeness or to the love that Raghunath Das Goswami had for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that when Mahaprabhu left, he really wanted to end his life. And we also see similar prayers in Jayanilo Prema Dhana, where Narottam Das Thakur mentions that Pashane Kutibo Matha Nele Pashibo, which means in the fire of separation, he wants to break his Pashane Kutibo Matha, I want to break my head. And Anele Pashibo, I want to enter into the fire. It's actually very similar to, being a sati, but yeah, he wants to enter a fire in that separation. So when you are, we cannot again make it like a generalized thing, but there are people in our scriptures, in our Vedic, in our tradition, who have experienced this, who have actually done, like Gandhari has actually done the sati thing, but even our Goswamis have felt that the fire of separation is way higher than the physical fire, and they did contemplate about suicide when they left, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left. So that was one. Okay, so we talked about these things. There's one more thing in the purport which I wanted to talk about. Just give me a moment, please. Yeah, I was thinking about, in general, the Vedic system, Vedic in the Vedic times, how the wife and husband relationship would be. And maybe we could talk a little bit about that, as to how it translates to the modern world. We are again, many families do not have the ideal relationship between husbands and wives, but at least we know, through our Vedic scriptures, when we are reading them, we can see that there are some role models whom we can try to follow or try to get some inspiration from them and apply that in our various relationships, including the relationship of husband and wife. There is there are many examples in our scriptures. For example, Devahuti and Sati, Sukanya, even Tulsi Shaligram Vivah, we hear that story. So, like how women, I would like to say, maybe focusing more on the role of the wife here, how that would work when we translate it to the modern world. It's not very easy. But at least we can see that there is some standard is there, which is mentioned in our Vedic scriptures, wherein the husband and wife work together, but wife primarily takes care of the home and the children, and the husband takes care of the outside world, interacting more with the outside world. And so that way both of them work together and the whole family is taken care of very nicely. Again, they were in Kshatriya families. There are examples where the Kshatranis would also rule when if the male member of the family was no more. So the women were totally capable of doing the roles of the men, but that's not the first choice that they wanted to live their life. But if they had all the skills and the necessary education imparted to them, that if needed, they can step up and play the role. They would even go for fight in wars. We have seen examples of those ladies and ladies who are ruling. So the Vedic system really matched the skills and the temperaments of men and women and assigned them roles accordingly. It does not mean that one role is lesser than the other role. Just because the husband is going out and working and the wife is staying home does not mean that the wife's role is lesser than that of the husband. Both are extremely important roles. And when they do their roles perfectly with love and respect towards each other, really respecting what the other person is contributing, that's the ideal life a person can live in. And that's how our Vedic systems had designed the lives for men and women. They were totally equal. And also when we become Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, and we understand that this body, we are not the body and we are the soul, we are totally equal. The men and women are equal. But at the same time, God has designed us, given us different kinds of bodies, which are really capable of doing certain kinds of works way better. Women can give birth. I mean, men cannot do that. They are superior in that sense. But men have more strong bodies. They are, in general, more powerful in terms of physical strength than women. So men have that strength. Women are they have more emotional quotient. They can take care of the family way better because of that. So the point is that our Vedic systems were designed in those manners. Now, translating fast forward to the current situation where we are living, we don't see that happening as much for various reasons. It's also when those systems were designed when men were also following the Vedic lifestyle fully, and they were Krishna conscious. They were dharmic. They were dharmic, and in that sense, when they were following the dharma properly, the wife following the husband was a much easier thing to do, or not easier. That was the right thing to do. But nowadays, when we see that the men are also not following dharma, then the equation is not applicable anymore, that the wife can be totally just following following exactly the husband. Um, those Vedic systems assume that the men are following dharmic lifestyle, and in that situation, it's better if the women follow their husbands. And it was also that it was even mentioned that if the wife would get 50% of the credit of all the dharmic activities that the husband performed, because they were doing all the Vedic sacrifice or whatever um, dharmic ceremonies that the men were doing, while women were not, but women were getting 50% of the credit for that. But this was all assuming the foundation was that dharmic lifestyle was being followed. So I would say in the modern times, especially for our devotees, when at least we know that we are trying to follow the dharmic lifestyle, um, the compass has been set properly at least. Again, we people will have different levels where at which they are comfortable, at the levels at which they are able to follow the dharmic lifestyle. Accordingly, the adjustments or this thing, what to say, we can do the balance accordingly. But at least we should know that the prescribed ways where the one person, and which is always the wife, takes care of the family more than the husband, and that way the balance can be maintained perfectly. If the husband is dharmic, and in our situation I can translate it to being Krishna conscious, if the husband is Krishna conscious and really following the Krishna consciousness strongly, not just in name, not just externally, but you could say internally, uh, then it is better if the wife also supports and follows the husband, and that way, um, that way I think it will be the perfect balance situation of living in this perfectly balanced situation, yeah, where it's not that both of them are trying to be a man, two alphas. It's better if there is they both take care of their skills appropriately and really work on making progress in Krishna consciousness. So that is one thing which came to my mind when I was reading this purport and about thinking about Gandhari, about chaste women, and how we can translate that a little bit to our modern lives. Again, it's a very sensitive topic, and I don't think any Prabhuji could have ever said this thing, because you can immediately get labeled that you're anti-women. But me being a woman, I think it was safer for me to talk about that, that it's better if women, especially in the devotee culture, follow their husbands and take care of the family, focus more on the family. Um, yeah, so I took that liberty. Oh my God. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Mataji.
Can you hear Mataji?
Okay, the electricity went away
We
again.
thought you're getting ready to do lighting of the ghee wicks.
No, Prabhuji, we are
That's
in
fine.
India, as you
Yes,
know,
yes.
and the situation is
No
not
problem.
always, having like it. So I have put the battery bank, so the phone should work. But yeah, there's no light here. Okay. So yeah, I think I can stop here if anybody wants to add anything, or please correct me if you disagree, or if you didn't like anything. Please feel free to correct me. I'm really open and for your corrections and suggestions. And yeah, if want to have any discussion, any questions which we can handle together, please feel free. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji, for speaking from such a distance with the technical challenges that exist with that endeavor. This is a very interesting topic. Oh, and then there's like.
Yeah.
Do you want to speak more, or do you want to open it up to what?
No, we can have a discussion, Prabhuji, please. Yeah, please.
So I'm sure this topic can generate lots of questions and confusion as well. Would you like to ask questions or share reflections or request for some clarification? Please speak.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, thank you so much for giving a presentation. It's nice how Krishna arranged that it would be you to speak on the subject. I appreciated very much the idea of not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That it seems like so much of our service as devotees is to establish the validity of the Vedic literatures. Again, when there's been so much misapplication of rituals and stuff. And so I appreciate that you took your time to talk about that in a sound way. It gave me a glimpse of more than just talking about Hare Krishna. Sometimes it's also just establishing the authority of the Vedic literatures. And I think that you did that in such a nice way. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dhanavas pranam. Krishna Prabhupada. Beautiful lecture, Mataji. Very beautiful. Like you said, it was you as a woman. You explained this topic very nicely, and if any one of us would have done it, yeah, things could have been taken in a wrong connotation. So wonderful, wonderful lecture, Mataji. I like the points you mentioned. One thing I want to say is that personally also. Um, Early in life, like we see a lot of Vedic rituals which are followed in our families, but without explaining much about it. And with modern education, science, and everything, we tend to question and we lose interest in these practices because we don't get any explanation. Even, as you know, Priyam, Padyavali, she's from north and then from south. And when we got married, at the time when the marriage time discussion came up, we came to know that in northern India, the marriages are kept in the middle of the night, which was quite a bit of a shock for us because in south it is always auspicious time is calculated from sunrise to sun. So typically it is in the Brahma Muhurta, after the Brahma Muhurta, something like that. So my family started questioning like what kind of dharmic values do they follow? Like how could it be this different? We usually consider nights to be very inauspicious, but I still don't have an answer for those things. But anyway, this is just one example from my own personal life where I felt, not having explanations for these quote unquote rituals can make one to lose faith in them. So yeah, in the same line of discussion, you mentioned about how we should learn about the practices we are doing. Without that, it's just like deity worship. If you don't explain it to children or family members, they tend to question it and lose interest in the end. So I just thought, it's similar in our own Krishna conscious practice as well. Initially, we take up to Krishna consciousness, and there is a lot of enthusiasm because of the novelty of it. But over the years, if you just do it as a, like a practice alone without much of the samandha gyan, we tend to lose interest in it, and ultimately it could be just like any other ritual. So yeah, that was a wonderful point you mentioned. As well as, you mentioned about how in the early days, the dharmic system, which is basically karma yoga, which is designed in a way that the wife participates in the sacrifices or the dharmic life of husband, and they receive the fruits of all those sacrifices. And you connected how in the modern family, especially in a Krishna conscious life, it's not directly applicable. But
Prabhuji, what does it mean?
Sorry, Prabhuji.
So I think I couldn't hear you for some time too. I thought that's why I said.
Oh, sorry,
No,
Prabhuji.
no mind. Please go through.
Okay. Sorry, Prabhuji. Yeah. So I was just mentioning that how in the modern family life, the wife in a Krishna conscious family, the wife serving the husband and taking care of the children and the family, that itself becomes a secondary limb of bhakti, where you're keeping Krishna in the center and you're serving the family, and that becomes secondary limb. So wonderful discussion points you brought in. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah, and again, if the husband is not Krishna conscious, things don't apply, I would say. For the wife also, she should do this, following the husband once if she knows that the husband is on the right path. So it's not about blind following again, I would say. The woman is applying her mind and choosing to follow the husband, knowing that he is on the right path. There is also one, like how you follow a guru. In fact, in the Vedic system of things, the husband would be the guru of the wife. So he would really be so much dharmic and following the spiritual life that he was capable of being the guru of the wife. But if in the modern times when we try to translate that, the husband also has to have that, the strength, the spiritual strength that he can deliver the wife. Only then all these things will apply. But at least we know the higher way of living, or the, what would you say, like in terms of eating, when we say if you know the higher taste, then it's easier to give up the lower ones. Even though it might be harder, like for example, when you're traveling, it's really hard to find sattvic food. But at least when we know the importance of having that kind of lifestyle, sattvic lifestyle, which includes sattvic kind of food consumption, we do make we undergo some austerity to do that. So similarly, in the living this kind of life, uh, for a devotee, where a wife is voluntarily, with full, intelligent wife is following her husband, while uh, taking care of, doing different kind of roles, not being totally equal to the husband in terms of all things. Like uh, it will have a cost, but at least it's almost like, uh, it could be a higher way of living, that both husband and wife are devotees. In that situation, it's better if they define their roles in such a manner that the entire family can make progress in Krishna consciousness, both of them included, and that's how take care of all the roles, divide all the roles according to the gender and the skills and capabilities of both partners. So it could be harder. Again, living a sattvic lifestyle itself is hard. It's way harder than living a materialistic life. You cannot just, eat anything or do just about anything. So if you think, I mean, there's an austerity involved in this kind of living this kind of life. But when we know the value of that, what we are getting at the end of it, we try to voluntarily take it up. So in similar sense, this is also in that direction. Again, we cannot translate it exactly, like from tomorrow, uh, take any drastic step in your life, but at least know that this is the compass. This is where we have to go. Even the husbands should not be doing a lot of ugra karma. If the husband is also very materialistic or following, they should also be in that mode that we are being Krishna conscious and trying to really follow the lifestyle which is propounded, or having our compass set in that direction. Then all these things are applicable.
Vriksha Madhuri, thank you so much. It's a beautiful, let's talk topic. It's a, as you mentioned, controversial topic, sensitive topic, Mataji. And coming from you, it was very nice, Mataji, very beautifully put. So many wonderful points. And I was thinking, when hearing a lecture as well, at the end of the lecture, I remembered hearing something similar, but from a senior Vaishnava, which we really love. And talking about many of the controversial points, especially when it comes to Krishna consciousness, has been, especially from the purpose of Srila Prabhupada, so many points which he made, which apparently seems very controversial. So it's also very nice to harmonize this, so to say, controversial points with what the actual view is, right? So this is I'm just pasting in the chat. This is a lecture by His Hari Pasha Prabhu, which he gave. It's called Arise, the Honest Men podcast. So basically, this is a lecture where the hosts are trying to ask this controversial question, which you mentioned, all this sati or this being less intelligent, or so many different things. And he harmonizes beautifully, very from Shastra, very beautifully puts. And the amazing thing is, the next series, the next lecture after this is not a reaction, it's a response, or not response, you could say. They take by Vaishnavis on lecture by Hariprasad Prabhu on women and how they see, and they seem to agree that this beautiful point. It makes sense. So Hariprasad Prabhu, being in a male body, he's put so beautifully all these wonderful points that that lecture would be a very nice complement to your lectures, today's lecture, Madhya. So I'm sharing in the chat, and really interesting. Okay, really interesting. 2 hours podcast, worth to listen.
Sure, Prabhu. I think I heard it like long time ago whenever it came out. But yeah, today, thank you for reminding. I listened to it again. Yes, Prabhuji. And I might have made a lot of mistakes today. Please forgive me. I was just speaking from my heart. Okay.
Yeah. No, I thought it's a nice compliment. It's not a supplement. You could just just watch that, not watch your lecture, not like that, but you should add, and the more points which you brought about, so that will be really nice addition to them. I think that's what I thought. But thank you so much. Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Anita.
Yeah, I really liked how you navigated through the whole lecture today, like all the other devotees noted. It's really nice. You started off with Sati and then talked about Dowry and how important it is for this age generation children to understand the reason behind why we do what we do. Because growing up, I never knew I should ask for all these reasons, right? As you said, blindly following my parents. But now this generation is very different, as you noted, Mataji. So we have to be very careful there. I really like, and then when you talked about Raghunath Das Goswami and all the way you navigated through the whole class is very nice and very interesting. And very well said, all the important points. Like, yeah, I think you did very good justice, Mataji. Thank you so much again. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yeah. You presented very well about the family and how to live in this Krishna conscious world. One is going to Krishna and other is not going to Krishna. That also happening some places, and that also those who are going to Krishna consciousness, she or he has to wait to see the other person also has to come Krishna, to pray and in every aspect. But Krishna only the judge for that. And this satsangam and chanting and go to Krishna Vaishnava temple is very important for those people. And she or he to see that potter has to come to temple. That is very nice and very useful to change the mind of that people. This is my understand. But anyway, you are presenting very nice this aspect of families. And previous days, morals are more. We have to pray God only. We are depending on only the God. Even stars also, where they are searching on the sky that stars, when the star that month is coming, Kartik month, like that. But nowadays, technology is growing, and everybody is going through that. Some people cannot go, but even though we have to teach the children, coming generation, about Krishna. God is there. God is everything. God is our guide, like that. Mabab only can do that, and Guru also can do that. In this country, Guru is not there, but we have to search that Guru also, and to attach the children. That is very important to nowadays. At any cost, you presented very well, Mataji. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mataji.
Okay, thank you for everybody for contributing. Clearly a very sensitive topic, of the ritual of sati. And thank you for adding the perspective of understanding yagyas correctly. I think my take from my little readings on this, I haven't delved a lot into this issue, is that number one, it's an elective process. It's not a forced upon process, because we can see that even like, when Dasarath Maharaj died, all his wives did not enter into sati. And we see that. I also found it very interesting where, Pandu Maharaj, when he left his body, I mean, there's Kunti Maharani and Madri Maharani, and they had an honest conversation between themselves of what's the right thing to do. So it wasn't somebody forcing it onto them, and Madri entered the funeral pyre, and Kunti stayed on so she could take care of children. So I think, although it's talked about in Rig Veda and in Mahabharata, but it's not uniform that everybody has to do it. It's the elective decision by a wife. So, and I think the other way I try to understand this is it's a ritualistic way of leaving one's impure body behind and moving on into a higher situation, almost like a Jivan Mukta sort of situation. So, yeah, and I think then subsequently with the coming of the Muslims and the British, there was a different moral compass or ethical code where there wasn't necessarily an attempt to understand the rationale behind the process, and rather just an immediate criticism of it being a barbaric ritual. So I think, but it's a deep topic. So thank you for discussing it. Okay. Okay, I think unless if there are any other comments, then we'll go ahead and end. And you still have light, so that's good.
Yeah.
Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhavyevacha patitanam pavnavya Vaishnavyo namo namaha. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Take care, Mataji.
Yes,
Hope
thank you.
all is well. Bye-bye.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Mataji, when are you coming back?
I think 12th November is our flight. Yeah, we'll reach on
Okay.
12th. Yeah. Missing all of you very much here.
Yeah. We are missing your association too a lot. But I'm sure you're having a very wonderful time. I saw some pictures of you posting from, was it, forget. Yeah, but I saw some pictures.
I only posted about Radha Govindji.
Yeah,
I was
Radha
so
Govindji.
excited
Yes.
that we started our Kartik month with their darshan, so that was like a real highlight. And
Yeah.
after that, we went to many some more temples. So yeah, it's going nice. But at the same time, I also I wish I could be at Port-au-Prince. I'm missing Portland also very much. And I hope all of you are having a wonderful time in Karthik, immersing yourself in various programs and Bhakti. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mataji. We're waiting. Come back soon. Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I end the call, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.